Bringing you the voice and vision of custom culture and lifestyle, as seen through the eyes of this South Texas duo. Welcome to the Custom Couple. Dude, have you checked out the PodTrack P4?
No, not looked at that. I spent so much money on recorders over the years. I'm like, I'm not going to get another one yet. So I've got the H4 in, I've got the H6 in, and extra microphones. So like, this is just regular headset, but I also have a headset with mics on it. I have two of them. So when I go do live recording, I could just hand it to the other person. We don't have to worry about the microphone going in and out all the time and over here, and just makes it comfortable to have conversations. So some of these guys get a little camera shy, for lack of a better term, but you put that on their head, they forget that's there after a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, you and I have... We've recorded with a lot of the same people and a lot of the same types of people. And, of course, when you get car guys, mechanics, people that don't do recording stuff for a living, they usually
techie people, too. You know, especially our traditional hot rod custom people are a little less tech savvy.
We have quickly learned that.
Purposefully for some of them. I mean, I'm on all this high-tech stuff, yet I've been collecting cool old vintage cameras to put on the shelf that I never use. So I've got a love for the old stuff, but I only use the new.
That's so awesome. When did you start getting into vintage cameras?
Just a few years ago. I just was at a swap or at an antique store and saw one that looked cool. And it's actually the first one was my aunt and uncle store sold their hardware store they'd had since the year I was born. This is like 7-8 years ago. And I said, we found this camera. We don't know if it was ours or if it was here when we bought the store. And it's this really cool twin lens Yashica up here on the top shelf. Still works. I've used it. A couple rolls have gone through it. But most of the time it just stays up there and it's pretty to look at. Like me.
Of course. Absolutely. So welcome to Swapcast.
Yeah.
We've done one of these before back when we did when we started it was with Gnarly magazine.
Yes.
Last year when we started our show, we did a Swapcast with him. That was our friend Nick. Mm-hmm. And then Travis and I have done one of these before when I had the Rust Culture project going on.
Wow. And the thing came up on my timeline the other day. It was like 2014 when I started this podcast. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago. And to think when you and I did ours together, I mean, it was probably 5 years ago now, right?
I believe it was somewhere around 2016, 2017. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just crazy how quickly all of that just goes away. And you're like, oh, I'm really old all of a sudden. This was red a couple years ago. Now it's all gray. So it happens.
Yeah, I'd cut the part of my hair that turns gray. And when it grows in and I start seeing gray, it's like, oh, it's time for a haircut.
That or you're like, hey, you're dyeing your hair. You want to dye mine too?
Yeah. Yeah. Sama keeps me young.
I still maintain in the 90s was a great idea at the time. I had a blonde streak in my goatee, my red goatee. And I think that's why there's a little discoloration still to this day. 25 years later or whatever. So, what's going on in custom couple world? I mean, you're what side of San Antonio are you on, by the way? I hear you talk about it before. I think you said you're close to Vintage Air, so I'm assuming the north side of town?
No, we just hang out in that side of town a lot. We actually live in the south end of town, closer to where I work, because I work at one of the what used to be an Air Force base. And so we got a house closer to my work. And then Sam, she works on the complete opposite side of the world from us.
35 minutes away.
Right. And if it was here in Kansas, it'd be like, oh, that's like 5 miles.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. So yeah, my girlfriend lives, she works, I think you work for Textron, right?
No, I work for Standard Aero.
Standard Aero, okay. So, well, that was misinformation in my brain there. So anyways, she's in the aircraft industry anyways. as well. She works for Textron on the west side of Wichita. So she's 10, 15 minutes from work. Well, I'm 35 minutes from her. I'm 20 minutes from work. I keep looking at houses with bigger garages, and I'm like, get it closer to her means the price astronomically goes up. I'm like, you know what? I can handle a few more minutes drive. I can, because it's open country. It's and then if I move 5 miles south, it'll double the price of my house, and that 5 miles is on an interstate with almost no traffic compared to what you guys have to deal with. So it's literally 5 minutes away. It's not 5 miles turning into 25 minutes. I'm shaking my camera like crazy. I don't have an earthquake going on. It's just jitters because I'm nervous to be on with you guys.
Oh no, we're used to it. We're used to folks getting nervous. I think JP got real nervous with us a couple times when we've had him on the show. You were supposed to have our buddy Johnny on a while back, Johnny Plumber, and you were going through some storms or something. He was telling me about.
I know, and we never got around to doing it again. Maybe I just need to have him on next just to make up for that. Yeah, like the night we went to do it, the power kept coming on and off. I'm like, dude, I can't guarantee when this is going to happen. And he goes, okay, we're going on vacation. We'll catch up after that. And then right about that time at work, we started carrying everything Vintage Air makes instead of just some of it. And from that point on, the rest of the year was so busy. I spent most of the rest of the year working overtime to keep up with shipping.
Oh, wow.
And then just now in January, we got somebody else to come in and do the shipping. So now I can go home at 5 every day. So I've gotten into doing some podcasts again now because I'm not working till 9 o'clock most nights.
Oh yeah.
It's
it's
a wonderful problem to have, right? I mean, you're so busy, you're making sales. It's that you have to work overtime. Oh, terrible problem.
You're talking to the two people that work overtime every single week.
Yeah, essential workers.
Right? It was essential that I paid my bills, so I worked all the way through the whole thing.
Exactly. Isn't that funny that that's a term now? Like that's a known word now, essential workers.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, who's not essential, right? I mean, yeah, I sell hot rod parts, but some people do drive their hot rods daily, and so we need to get parts out to them. So I guess in some way I could twist that to make me essential. No, not really. It's all fun stuff. It's hot rods. It's completely. It's not essential to 90% of the world, but to those of us who are into it, it's completely essential.
Oh, of course, because if you're not going to go to work, then you need to be in the garage working on your hot rod.
Yeah, I'm going to spend the time doing that coming up here. I heard. Now, speaking of that, this is a horrible transition I'm going to try to make smooth. I heard you recently sold one of your cars. So,
yeah, I'd never keep anything for long periods of time. You've known me over the years.
I keep looking at your Facebook like, well, where did that come from? That wasn't last time I looked. He didn't have this.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely that guy that gets bored with what's in his driveway.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times there's been moments where something was just too good of a good deal. And then 6-8 weeks later, you find out why it was too good of a good deal.
Like, it wasn't a great deal. I'm just not smart enough to see it. Yep, I've been there.
Excitement takes over, and he's like, it's this one, it's this one. And I'm like, it's not, but you want it, so let's go.
Right? Yeah, and I mean, you guys have been talking a bunch about all the car shenanigans going on. I've talked a bunch about my podcast about what's going on with me, and it's just leading me to believe that we all just need to win the lottery and buy bigger garages. That's all that would solve all of our problems.
Pretty much. My poor Buick is on the side of our house. It doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit anywhere.
It's too long and too big.
The garage that came with this 1930 house would have been perfect for a Model A in 1930. But sometime in the history of this house, 5 feet got added on to the length of the garage. You could see where inside the garage and the rafters, you could see where it was painted because it used to be the outside of the garage. Like, oh, Papa came home with a Cadillac at some point. And they couldn't fit those fins in the garage.
That's one of my favorite little cartoon blips was the guy that had the hacksaw cutting the fins out of his garage. Yeah.
57 Savoy to fit back in there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm glad the guy did it because the Galaxy's got about 2 inches behind the back bumper when I put the door down. To get around to the other side of the car, you have to open the garage door.
Oh, man. So since the last time we've actually talked, you've done a whole lot of things with your podcast, and then you did 48 states doing pictures all over the United States and selling a book, and you've just done a bunch of stuff.
Cars 48 state trip was such a big deal that now I look back on it and go, I'm not cool enough to have done that. I'm remembering somebody else's. There's no way I did that. There's no way I took off work for 2 months and drove a classic car to all the lower 48 states. That's something a cool person would do. There's no way that was me. But yeah, I did it. And I wrote a book about it, and I'm almost done selling all 350 copies. I have like 2 cases left, so 16 or so books left.
And then you also took pictures with cars while you were on that trip. So it's like, it's one thing for somebody just to cruise it, but you had it all mapped out and people to meet and cars to shoot.
I forget his name, but there's a cat who did it in a 32. Did 49 states. He even went up and touched Alaska and did it in 9 days. I did 9 weeks. I took my time. I shot features and wrote an article on a different car in each state. And then I attended 6 car shows. And then also one state I wrote a shot for a second article for a magazine. Since I was in the area, they said, hey, well, just stop by here and do this. Sure thing. Painted. So, but I got to meet some amazing people. I got to see cars from all over the country. And it was kind of funny. Like my Oregon car, he's fully from Texas. He had just moved from Texas the year before. But he's like, hey, I live in Oregon now. Can I be your Oregon car? Fantastic. That's one less state I have to find somebody in. So that one might be cheating a little bit. But it was a really cool trip. We've talked about it. I've talked about it to the run out of breath. But everything was great. About 8,000 miles into the trip, the engine started running a little rough. I went ahead, did my shoot for that night because we were running out of day. You only can shoot so much. So sun's going down. Let's get it done now. Went to the hotel. Like, oh crap, I got a dead cylinder. Got up in the next morning. I checked it out. And I'm like, there's just nothing I can do with this here. So I'm going to take it to a local shop and see what's going on. And it was a brand new engine before the trip. A guy who was a buddy of mine. He's also happened to be the expert for this kind of engine. He's like, bring it to me. I'll get it taken care of. So before the trip. So I took him in September, a set of heads, figured I'd have those back in November. When I dropped the rest of the block off in November, because I decided to do the whole thing, he hadn't even touched the heads yet. So I'm like, okay, I need these February. From September to February. Plenty of time, right? Think back. This is 2017, not like today where there's supply chain problems. So by April, it still wasn't done. And I needed to leave at the end of April. So I rescheduled the whole trip for September and called the guy and said, dude, I need this engine. Mid-July, I call him and say, in 4 days, I'm coming to get the engine or the pieces of the engine. One of the two. I don't care if I have a non-running engine. When I take the pieces home, I'm done. That was on a Thursday. On that Sunday, he posted a picture on Facebook, like, look what the junk I have to build a race engine out of. And I'm looking at it going, I know that engine. I can tell that's the one I brought to you. You're just starting to work on it now. It got all together. I did the break-in 2,000 miles. I got ready to go on the trip. And like the day before, 2 days before the trip, 4 days before the trip, I hooked the vintage camper up. All right, let's do a test run. See how the new engine likes this camper. Overheated immediately. The car had been running perfect before that, so I'm freaking out. 4 days before the trip. The whole trip was supposed to be pulling this camper all across the states. Last minute decision. All right, let's just punt. Let's leave the thing at home. We're gonna do hotel rooms and stay on people's couches. We'll make this happen. So then we start the trip. We're about 8,000 miles into it. I find out about this dead cylinder. Take it to the shop. It's at this shop for 45 minutes, and they come back and say, "Yeah, you have a burnt valve." I'm like, I took the valve cover off. I could tell. I know I have a burnt valve. He's like, well, we can keep it here and fix it, but it's a Friday and it'll be at least Monday before we get any parts. I said, well, what do I owe you so far? He's like, $115. I'm like, yeah, I'll go ahead and pay that bill and I'll grab the car and I'll get that taken. So I get on Facebook like, I don't know what I'm going to do, people. I'm in California, outside of Sacramento. Turns out I was in Joe Balon's town, and had I just known it, I would have stopped by to see him because he passed away 4 days later, the inventor of candy apple. And I say that because I looked down and was reminded I have a candy apple signed by him that my mom got me at our show a few years ago. Kind of a cool thing to have. It's a Christmas tree on it technically, but it stays on the desk all year round. So I'm sitting there going, okay, what do I do? Engine's busted. I'm 600 miles from anybody I know. And so I kind of put it on Facebook. It's like, hey, I don't know anybody in the area. If you know anybody that has a shop that let me at least take the head off, maybe I can overnight one from one of the big parts stores or something. And one of the Salt Lake City Throttlers Car Club calls me. It says, we don't know if we can fix it, but we do have a machine shop and a place to stay. Get the car to Salt Lake City. We'll do whatever we can. If we fail, you're 600 miles closer to Kansas. Like, it does not sound like a bad idea. So $1,600 later in U-Haul bills. I had a truck. I had a trailer. That was way too small, the truck, by the way. A Galaxy on it, and I'm heading up Donner Pass. The Donner Pass. All kinds of mental imagery going on. I'm like, I hope I don't break down on this one. Get up over the pass. I stop at a Summit store out there. They had one valve, or they had 2 or 3 valves. They had a couple guides, like 8 guides in stock, and no seats. I'm like, okay, I'll take everything you have for the FE motor. Take it all. Got back on the road. About like 1 a.m, I'm in the middle of Utah. I'm just out of steam. Get a hotel for a few hours. Finish the drive. I get to Salt Lake. I'm driving by Bonneville on the way to Salt Lake. I'm like, look, there's cars on the trailer. This sucks. No. Just keep driving. Like, look, there's cars that go fast out there in the salt, but I'm broken. Just made it all the way there. And the Elmer family, Tim Elmer, it was his house that has the machine shop in the backyard. It's actually now Salt City Speed Shop is based out of there. Had his camper in the backyard. But I just seen him in the camper the week before at the Hot Rod Hill Climb. They cleaned everything out. They're like, stay in the camper for the weekend. We'll work on this engine. His dad, Larry, is the one that runs the machining tools. His brother, Chris, was actually on Ken Diggett's show. He used to work at Ken Diggett's shop, so he was on TV all the time. And we still kind of tease him about that because he's there doing all that real high-end stuff, and he's working for free, taking a day off of work to work on my car for free, and they wouldn't let me give him a dime. But over the course of the weekend, we replaced 7 guides, 2 valves, and 1 seat. We'd replaced more if we could have, but that's all we had material for. And it turns out that the seat on a flathead and the seat on a 390 is almost the same size piece of metal.
Wow.
So we were able to machine them down because they had some for a flathead. Fast forward 5 years later, I finished the whole trip. It added some drama to the trip. And like I talked about a couple weeks ago with Chris Ryan and Tim Strange. By the way, Chris Ryan, thinking about you, buddy. You had your motorcycle wreck the other night. Get well soon. I know things are rough right now. Love you, man. So I talked with them, and I was like, unfortunately, that became probably the coolest part of that trip. Because all of a sudden, I had this thing to overcome rather than just, I'm just going to drive an old car across the entire country. Oh, now I'm going to break it and try to get it fixed and be on schedule again 2 days later. But 5 years later now, here we are. The other head has finally let go. So now I've got to do another repair because we just did what we could that day. And it turned out what had happened was when that guy was putting I lose this example all the time. The rockers slide onto the rocker shaft on an FE engine. They're not individually mounted. So you have one shaft that runs the whole head and have all the rockers on it. Well, there's 2 holes for oil to pass from the rocker shaft into the rocker. So you should have them lined up where those 2 holes line up. But if you put the rocker on the shaft backwards, only the 1 hole lines up. That's what was wrong with the engine that whole time that caused the problem. Now it's just worn enough that the other side's having issues. So, yeah, long story short, I paid double and waited 4 times as long for an engine that broke down. And I'm still kind of salty about it.
I know the exact feeling that happened with my Thunderbird. I had a running.
It's an FE motor too, right? In the Thunderbird.
Yeah, it was. When Sam got a hold of it, somebody had already swapped out and put the 351 Windsor in it.
Okay.
But
so
I drove that. No, but I drove it all the way home from Houston in 105-degree weather, and from Houston to San Antonio, that's about 4 hours.
About 4 hours.
But in an old car, it's about 5 hours. Right. So I drove it all the way home, and I just took it to this little shop here in town, and I was like, hey, I just got, this is when we were really busy, and we were, doing a lot of things and going to events. I was like, look, we don't have time to take a weekend out and go through all the kinks. I was like, just do an oil change, fix the brakes, we're good. That's all I need, right? They had my car for 3 months. and my
That's
engine,
the longest oil change I've ever heard of.
my whole car would shake violently anytime I drove it. Like, it was just, I don't know what they did to it, but something was horribly wrong. And it was just to the point where I was like, I don't even know what to do. Like, I feel just so defeated. And so then we had another friend work on the car, and he did the same thing. He posted about the car, saying, he's like, oh, look at this piece of shit car. And I was like, I know what car that is. That's my car. Yeah, I was like, huh, isn't that funny? I could have sworn that was my color car, because my car, the color of it was like the factory color. So you knew, like, right then and there, like, you knew whose car that was. And I was like, fuck. I was like, thanks.
Yeah, it's that yellow Thunderbird that looks, everybody says it's cream, like a cream color, but it's actually a really, really light yellow. Yeah, you can't mistake in that car.
So after that, I was like very salty about that car, and I was like, it's fine. We're just done with this car. It's time to just move on.
But now you have a big, beautiful Buick, right?
Yes, my 59. I love it. I just love big fin cars. I love big fin cars. It's my baby.
Yeah, so how my girlfriend Vanessa, she sees Dad's 57 wagon with the 57 Chevy wagon with the vertical fins, or the T-Bird, the 59 T-Bird with the fins, or the Studebaker with the fins. She just fins. It looks like 18 eyes in the middle of the word as she says it. Just loves them. But, I admit they're cool. They're a great design feature. That 59 was probably the pinnacle of them, because they decided, okay, we don't have to go sky high anymore. We can kind of lay those fins over, and it just. Such cool cars.
I just love how evil it looks. He looks so evil in the front. I was like, he just looks mean. So I'm like, I'm done. I'm sold. That's my car.
It's like if you want to get really aggressive and have fins sticking out to the side so the people next to you know what's up.
These fins are representative of the knife I will cut you with.
Pretty much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. I can't even imagine. We have so many cars on the road in San Antonio constantly, and driving this thing in traffic. I mean, Sam will absolutely get out of the car and hit somebody like in the face if they get too close to her. Like, she is not having it with some of these people on the road.
Yeah. I don't pay attention to like really anybody when I'm on the road. I just pay attention to who's in front of me, and I'm like, I just got to keep a distance because I can't slow down as fast as they can in that 2020 truck. I got to slow down like 2 miles behind them. It's just, it's so bad. But I like it when we're driving and he's in the seat, like he's in my passenger side, because he's a good husband. He doesn't mind riding in the passenger side when I'm driving. But he'll point out when there's kids and stuff that are waving at me. But if there's like stupid people just trying to like wave at me, I'm not paying attention. And then they almost wreck into me while they're doing it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just
you're going down the highway and you're hearing rumble strips because this guy over here is trying to gawk at your car, not paying attention to the road. You're like, listen, dude, it's a car. It's just an old car. It's cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. But don't kill me trying to think my car's cool.
Exactly.
So I'm out here in Kansas. I don't have to deal with traffic. The most traffic I have to deal with is when I go to Wichita, which is not even traffic. I mean, I lived in Phoenix for a while, so Wichita traffic is like, it's regular afternoon traffic. At Wichita's rush hour is regular afternoon Phoenix traffic. But when I go to a big city in the galaxy, like if I go to Austin, which is to me a big city because of the traffic problem, I just take that 130 all the way around town. I don't even try to go down 35.
Oh,
if it's before 8 a.m. on Sunday, I'll roll 35 out on the way home. But I won't even get near traffic in my old car. Just, oh, look, it takes 40 miles longer. No problem. Driving that way anyways.
Yep. No, it was a definite blessing when they brought in the toll road that takes you around Austin. It takes you around some of the other parts of 35 that just have always been under construction. Like, it's like, oh, we got a bunch of new people. We better add 2 lanes. No, dummy. You need to add 4 more lanes because by the time you're finished, you'll need all 4 of them.
Yep.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Of course, when they first opened up that toll road, I was doing about 90 miles an hour on it. And I had to make a couple quick decisions during that 90 miles an hour because all of the wildlife was still wild in that area.
Was it the first night there was like something like 40 cars hit hogs that night or something?
Yeah, hit hogs.
Oh my gosh. The carnage. the amount of pulled pork you get out of that wreck, but the carnage.
I mean, there's a reason why that part of Texas has so many barbecue joints.
Right? I've seen the videos of Ted Nugent in a helicopter machine gunning hogs, and Peter's like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" Like, there's millions of these. We have to thin this herd. They're killing every. I mean, they're eating all the food in the region. People are hitting them in their cars. These are a nuisance animal at this point. It's not a protected species.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have almost as many hogs as fire ants.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we were having a lot of problems with that. But, for real, though, that toll road has been a savior for us when trying to get to some of the places. Because we don't just go into Austin for car shows. We've gone up to Dallas for some of the shows that we go to. Hell, Sam's Miss Invasion 2021. So, got to make that trip again. I was supposed
to be down there last year, and then a bunch of stuff started happening, and I couldn't leave. And I'm like, hey, Rusty, sorry, I'm not going to make your show again. I made it once. One time I've ever got to go there. Well, by the way, belated congratulations. I guess you're still in your reign, so it still counts.
Yes, right? I give my crown away at the end of the year. So we'll be back this year, and I'll be helping out with that. But, man, I will just say this right now. It was absolute chaos. Like, that show, it was the first time I've ever gone to Invasion. It was the first year I ever competed in it. And I didn't realize how crazy it gets. And I was like, oh, what did I get myself into? And even after the show, like, Rusty and all them told us, they're like, that was like the craziest crowd response we've ever, like, you must know everybody. And I was like, no, he knows everybody. He just tells people they have to cheer. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, well, shit, Travis has talked to even more people than I have. Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes is what, 200 something, 212?
This will be 214.
214.
Wow.
Yeah. So a ton of episodes spanning since 2013, 2014 when you got your start with all of it.
Now, I got to say, in 214 episodes, there are a few that are just me drunk answering any question someone would ask of me. I put out in the world like, hey, next week I'm going to record a drunk cast. Send me any question you want. I won't look at them till I do it live in the show. I'll answer anything you ask. And then I'd put it out, and then the next day I'd be like, I better listen to that shit so I know what the hell I said. I make sure there's nothing incriminating on there. It's a really fun way to do a podcast, by the way. If you ever get bored and like, hey, here's what we do. Let's get just plastered and do a show.
We did that with Thurman. Well, I did that with Thurman.
Yeah.
Yeah, our good friend Thurman from Work Hard, Be Nice. We went to go, of course, like everybody knows, we went to go eat Wings Up. And me and Thurman were having a little bit too much fun. We got a lot of drinks and a lot of shots. And then by the end of it, we're like, oh, let's go home. He's like, we have a recording to do. And I was like, fuck. I didn't think about that.
We weren't recording this whole time? What?
So the whole time, me and Thurman are just looking at each other like we both need to stay like straight faced, because if not, we're screwed. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious because I'm sitting there like running the conversation.
We're just sweating. We're like,
and they're sitting at the table just going, God, is this done yet? Is it? It's like totally. When you go back and listen to the recording, none of that comes through, but I was sitting there enjoying all of it, like going, oh, yeah. You two are miserable right now.
I've said for years I want to do more podcasts at shows because I think it'd be a lot of fun to get in that moment. But, the shows are so short and there's always background music going on that you'd have copyright issues with. But I want to do, like for years I thought the great idea was, okay, find some nice little out of the way Mexican restaurant. It's not crazy busy, has a back room. We'll go order dinner, a couple giant margaritas, and turn on the microphones. Whatever happens. And so one night at the Paramount Bar in Salina, which is my hometown, during the KKOA Big Car Show weekend, I got Chris Ryan, Mike Keller, who owns a shop called Big Creek Restoration out here in Western Kansas, and then Eddie Potestio from Colorado Springs, a really talented upholsterer and actually all-around car builder. Got a few drinks in them. We got on stage and did a live podcast in front of an audience. The problem was none of my audience showed up, so it was just random people in the bar. And there's these 4 idiots on stage drinking and telling stories, about hot rods, and there's a bunch of people in the bar going, "Can we just hear some music or something?" And like the 10 people that were there for us were like laughing and having a great time. So just a very surreal experience, but so much fun. To this day, they're like, "Wait, you thought it was a good idea to get us drunk and turn the microphones?" Yes, it was a fantastic idea.
Man, and I've wanted to do things like that constantly, and our big thing with it was always once you get to the show, you're in that car show mentality, and you're wanting to go around and shake hands and see all the people you haven't seen for a while, and I forget to even get recording equipment out and talk to people. Like, I just want to talk to people.
I've lied to my audience so many times. I'm going to record a podcast this weekend. Nope, never do.
Pretty much, we're right there with you.
Maybe like if we're out at Flaming Gorge for the show in July, we'll get done. We'll be sitting around a campfire. We'll pass those headset microphones around to people, and we'll record something there. And that's kind of fun because you can just hand off a headset to different people over and over, and you get like 10 people on the podcast. I'm sure it confuses the crap out of everybody listening to it, but it's a lot of fun for me. Most of the time it's just like this, like you guys, the two of you sitting in a room talking to a computer. The same thing for me. I'm sitting here talking to a computer, being self-conscious about, can anybody see the mess in my office? If I hold my arm just like this, no one can see that mess and stuff.
Yeah, with us, we don't save any of the video stuff. We typically just use the Zoom videos so we can see the person that we're talking to, and have that rapport, going back.
Which reminds me, I forgot to turn on the recorder on the Zoom.
On the Zoom, right? Yeah, we always do. We always forget to do that.
Dang it! Well, I've been putting these out as video podcasts, so this one I just won't put out as video podcast. So well, less work for me to do later.
There you go. We just started our YouTube
take
channel.
2.
Yeah,
we just started our YouTube channel. Like, actually started putting content to it. So for all of,
and it's kind of a game for me, right? I mean, how are you? Are you doing just clips? Or are you doing full shows? I honestly, forgive me, I've not looked.
So our typical podcast, we're just putting it out as a podcast, but then we've also done Monday Night Lives on Facebook. So just this past week, we decided that we'll go ahead and start doing our live show from YouTube instead of Facebook, because I can share that over to Facebook, and then everybody can see it. So yeah, we just started doing our live shows. So every Monday we drop a new live show on our YouTube channel, The Custom Couple.
And nice plug.
Yeah,
and
there you go.
Doing it on Facebook, I would say this: Facebook content, it goes away essentially. I mean, it gets buried and nobody ever goes back to it. If it's on YouTube, like you said, you can promote that YouTube video on every other platform. Even if some new platform comes along and Facebook is gone, YouTube's still going to be there, and you can promote that YouTube video to this other content, this other platform. And it's kind of like, it seems more evergreen on YouTube. Because people could search up, if for some reason you wanted to search up my name, well, you can go pull up, like, I've got probably 30 videos or maybe 20 videos on there so far. I just started doing the video podcast a while ago. My thing I'm going into is like, well, I've been doing the whole podcast, and if it's somebody who's well known, it might get a couple hundred video views.
Right.
If it's not somebody who's well known, I'm trying to put their name out there, it might get like 50 or 60. And then you start thinking, okay, was it worth doing it? Like, I still think it was probably worth doing it because I'm already looking at you. You're looking at me. Let's just record this thing. But I wonder if I go and spend time to cut out interesting clips, 30 second, 2-3 minutes, something like that, if that might do better. So my brain's always working on that. Like, should I spend the time to do all that, or just put the whole thing up? It's a podcast. They're most likely going to listen to audio form anyways. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that. I mean, it's kind of a whole new thing for me too. It's like,
the one time I've been on video, I was not told I was going to be on video, so I had no makeup and I had the frizziest hair ever. And it was with the great Trent from Speed and Culture, right? And he plastered it everywhere, and I was like,
and it probably got like 100,000
It got a lot of likes and views. I got messages. It was like, Sam, were you ready for that? I was like, I was told that, hey, we're going to jump on. We're going to do our interview. And then he's like, this is going to be a great video. And my face sank. I didn't learn that until the end. It was
You're like, oh, it's gonna be video. I'm gonna just hold on, be right back.
Yeah, I'm like,
to the restroom real quick.
like, let me be right back. No, it wasn't until the end, and he was like, oh, don't worry, I'll edit it, and you can't see it. You can see me as plain as day. And I was like, oh God. I was like, I promise.
He is a great promoter too. I mean, so it's no wonder that thing would get a ton of views.
Oh no, I immediately was he was texting him. He's like, Sam was not ready. It's fine though. It's fine.
Yeah, it happens.
It's fine. We just roll with it. It'll be fine.
So now every interview we do, just in case, I'm like, nope, gotta have my makeup on.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I'm wearing a hat. That way I don't have to worry about my hair.
Same. I mean, not to mention half of our sponsors are hat makers, apparently. So
Everybody makes a hat.
Yeah. I mean, you've done really great doing sponsors. I guess I just never really looked into doing too much. I did sponsor for a little bit here and there. And lately, like, Brant asked me, goes, hey, are you doing some sponsorship deal? Like, I haven't really even thought about it. I probably need to. I've just been doing the Patreon thing, and I get enough people there that it covers my monthly podcast hosting fees. It covers a little bit of my website hosting fees. And then I have to hopefully sell enough photos through my site, which I haven't been taking a lot of photos lately. I've been doing more video, but usually the photo sales pay for the photo site, because that's like $250 a year for unlimited photo storage on that SmugBug thing. So I should look into doing the sponsors. I wonder if I'm just too lazy to kick that ball down the road, or just keep doing it. I keep complaining that I do it for free for 200 episodes.
I mean, yeah.
No, he's definitely the king of handling all that. Because when he told me everything that goes into it, I'm like, that's you. I'll just show up and be like, yes.
Tell me whose name to say. That's all I need to know.
Exactly.
That's the job I have.
Exactly.
I got the job to say the name and then go take a pretty picture. And
There
I'm
you
like,
go.
done.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm the one that hands her the list before each show. I'm like, here, you got to say these 5 things.
Here, I need a picture and a shirt. And I'm like, got it.
I keep telling Vanessa, I was like, every one of my videos where I'm doing a car show starts off with me doing like a selfie little video thing. Like, hey, I'm going to do this show, blah, blah, blah. Like, I really need just to hand it to her. Hey, go put it on your Chrome Python Pinstripes tank top. It's cut a little bit low. Shoot this intro for me. I'll get way more views.
You're not lying.
I know. Was it Haley Deegan, the race car driver, right? She does like a weekly or bi-weekly blog or something, a vlog on YouTube. She's a talented race car driver, but last summer when she started going to the lake and the thumbnail was her in a swimsuit, you could look at the views. Go look at her channel, look at the views. You're like, okay, it's growing, spike. It's growing, spike. Like, oh yeah, every time she's doing an episode where she's got her bikini or some tights on or something, the views go through the roof. I'm like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to find me a mankini. See how this works.
No.
No.
I'll do it if you do it. Let's do that.
Oh, you heard it here, folks. You heard it here. Travis
wrong,
just challenged me.
I know that Trent and Mikey who listen to this go, oh, they're doing it.
They'll do it for fun.
Right.
We'll get
Mikey
to
will
see
have one with
Mikey
kittens
soon.
on it for some reason.
Yeah, we're gonna see Mikey at Beatersville, and he'll probably be in a mankini. I'm thinking he might be.
We're gonna be crashing at his
so
house,
awesome.
so
Oh, cool.
yeah.
You get to go to the wonderful and wild Deputy Indiana. So his truck was the first vehicle I shot on the 48 state trip. So that was my first official stop was at his house.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And it's cool. It's much like my small town I came from. His small town is very similar. He lives just a couple miles outside of it. But yeah, it was really cool. And then he's become such a good friend over the years after that. It's really, it means a lot to me to have started that trip with him.
Yeah, I saw you. You had the Mikey and Trent on recently on one of your shows, and then you also had Zach and Dan on when they did their live chop.
Yeah, they reached out to me, and I honestly didn't know Zach before that, and I just kind of looking at what he's doing. I'm like, well, it looks like he's doing some cool stuff, and I think you had him on right about the same time. That's why I started thinking to myself, okay, we've done this twice. We've had the same people on at a similar time. I think I need to start maybe waiting a few months. If I see somebody's just been on their show, be like, hey, I'll record it with you, but we can't put it out till the fall, so it'll be like completely, like we make any references to what's going on in the world, they're completely out of date.
Right.
It'd be like listening to this fall to like, yeah, this thing in Ukraine just started. It's crazy.
It's already done, right? By the time anybody hears it.
Yeah.
But no, and we don't have any problem with any of that. You know, the folks that were like they're going on these tours of podcasts lately because they were also on our friend's podcast there at in Dallas, the hometown
Hot Rodder.
Yeah, hometown Hot Rodder had them on, and they were just they're trying to promote as much as they could for their live show. So I was all for it. I was glad to see them doing something. Of course, I was glad to see anybody doing anything lately. Of after everything was just crazy shutdowns last year, all the car shows hitting this year are going to go big.
Yeah, we've the lockdown started March 13th for most of the country. So my bosses were at the Good Guys at Fort Worth, so which means they left our shop Wednesday morning. They got to Fort Worth about 1 p.m, unload the trailer, set up the perimeter of the booth, and then spent all day Thursday building the store in the booth. Friday, it rained so hard, there's nobody at the show. And then at noon, they shut the show down because the north tunnel of the track is flooding, and they needed 2 ways of egress in and out of that track.
Wow.
So the fire marshal's like, no, you only have 1 way. You need to get everybody out before we have no ways. That was at noon or 1 o'clock on Friday. 6 o'clock that night, the Good Guys called us and said, hey, the mayor of Fort Worth just shut the show down. We're done. Come back in the morning, pick up your stuff, and drive back to Kansas.
Oh, my God.
So that was March 13th, and we're just like, what's going to happen? We make our living selling frivolous hot rod parts to the most of the world's opinion, though it's all important stuff for us. By July 4th weekend, the first Good Guys show had started up again. It was in Des Moines. So we only really had that time frame that we were really down from March to July. And that show had no spectators allowed, but it was one of our best shows we've ever had at Des Moines because all the people who were there were like, oh my God, we're so glad you're here to support the show. Let me buy a shirt or something at least. And a whole bunch of people want, all their parts for the cars. But since then, almost every show we go to, we're seeing record attendances for that show. And it's been really cool watching how people come back out of the woodworks. I think we only did 8 or 10 shows 2020. And before that, we've been doing 25.
Oh my God.
And then 2021, we did 17 or 18. And I think this year we're on track for 16. And they're not really COVID reasons we're not doing as many now. It's just we're looking at it going, we've built the business so much back home at the shop that we don't have to go do these shows. And it is brutal to do the show.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, you get to go to Louisville, go to the biggest show in the world. I'm like, yeah, I don't get to see any of it. I see like 200 cars total. As I'm going in at 7:45 in the morning and going out at 5:30 in the evening, that's all I see of the show, because you're on your feet working the whole time in between. But it's cool to see that a lot of shows out there are getting back up. How about, your local shows by you? Did they come back early, or are they just now coming back?
They've been back since the beginning of this year. They were all gone. Nobody would do anything here. It was very just dead. Nobody was doing anything. Nobody wanted to go out. It wasn't until, and it's sad to say, it wasn't until maybe the end of October last year that they started coming back. And now they're like, all right, we're going to start picking it up. So this weekend we have our club show that we're doing. We're doing a little thing for kids and stuff. But it really hasn't, it's barely starting to pick up back here.
Yeah, so, there wasn't a whole lot of the meetups and the cars and coffee and a lot of that going on during the shutdown. And then they would reschedule things, and then they would reschedule them again. And then, of course, everybody knows how Roundup was.
Everyone became shirt designers.
Yeah, everybody has a screen printing business now.
And to all you people screen printing, when you get to the 2X size shirts for us car show guys, we need the 2X tall. Because when you have a belly that sticks out, we don't have enough length to cover the bottom side of the belly. So
shirts just get wider. They don't get longer. And the tall sizes are a necessity. Absolutely.
I have to wear a 3X so it hangs low enough, but then the sleeves go down to my elbows. I look like I'm in my dad's shirt like I was a kid or something, right?
Travis is putting out his rap album this year.
It's wiggity whack, man.
So what are some of the shows that you're going to this year?
So some of it's up in the air. I'm not going to make Roundup because the Galaxy's down right now, and I'm going to try to save a little money to get that going again, just in case I have to do some extensive work. Mm-hmm. So that bums me out because I really miss seeing a lot of my Texas people. And then, Roundup's a show that brings people from all over the country. So, and a lot of the family I miss seeing there, the custom car family, hot rod family. So I probably won't be able to round up, but Stray Cat 500 in Dewey, Oklahoma is always on my schedule. If I had a little more vacation, I'd go do Vintage Torque Fest because it's the week before Stray Cat. It's up in, well, actually this year it's in Davenport, Iowa, I think. Oh, no, it's still in Dubuque. Sorry.
That's John Wells' show, right?
Yeah, and he's actually, the podcast that I'm putting out the week that we're recording this, which is a week before all you people hear it, is an episode with John talking about Torque Fest and all that's going on there. So Torque Fest is one I can't make, but I'd love to. Roundup's one I can't make, but I'd love to. But I'll go to Stray Cat. Trying to think off the top of my head. Oh, we go out to Flaming Gorge, Utah. Flaming Gorge Reservoir. There's a Flaming Gorge Resort. One of the Salt Lake City Throttlers, again, his wife's family, owns the resort. And it's also his birthday weekend, 4th of July. Ooh. So we just have a 4 or 5 day excursion where we go whitewater rafting one day. We go tour the dam because this dam's like 1,400 feet wide and 400 foot tall. I've not done the tour yet because usually the day before I get there. And then we take hot rods that are bangers and flatheads, and we go up and down the mountains around the lake. It's like 1,300 foot elevation changes around the lake. And there's some of these little banger cars are like, man, you better put that in reverse to get up this mountain. You know, it's to get up the top, right? They need a lower gear. But it's a blast. It's so much fun. Then we have a little car show on Saturday, and the car show is, it's 150, 200 cars. It's nothing massive. And there's only like 30 of us that are more traditionally inspired type cars there, but it's all about having a great time with the Hot Rod and Custom Car family, and that one's a really good one.
You've done the hill climb a couple times.
Yeah, I've been to all but the first hill climb. I was an idiot. And I took up somebody's advice, like, oh, go check out this event in Kansas that weekend. Moron. I should have been in Colorado at the first of the revival of the hill climb. As of right now, there is no hill climb this year. So we didn't do one in 20, didn't do one in 21, not going to do one this year. Mike is planning, as far as I know, to bring it back next year. But he's like, his note to me was, man, we just need to take some time off the family and do some family stuff this year. Go ride dirt bikes and stuff. Totally understand. So that one I miss because it's so much fun. The other one he's been putting on, which we don't know, I don't know if it's going to come back or not. I hope it does, is the Hot Rod Dirt Drags. And the really crazy cool part about the dirt drags was it was held at the hotel that was the host hotel. So next to the host hotel is this giant field that used to have a dirt airstrip in it. So they recreated the dirt airstrip right next to the hotel so you could see it from the hotel. But that hotel also owns the drive-in next door. And if you're in your room, you can turn on speakers and watch the drive-in movie through your big windows.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
super cool. So the venue is phenomenal. But the problem was, as an example, I can drive from here in Kansas to Indy for the Custom Car Revival. It takes me about 10 and a half hours. To get to this show, and that's half of Kansas, all of Missouri, all of Illinois, and half of Indiana. To get to Monte Vista for the dirt drags, half of Kansas, half of Colorado, was 9.5 hours. And it's just a long freaking way of nothing in between. Because it was 4.5 hours southwest of Denver.
Oh, wow.
And there's a big valley out there that's literally like the size of Connecticut. That's just flat in the middle of the mountains. I'm a Kansas boy. All I know is take I-70 west when you hit Denver, everything's mountains after that. But if you go south a little ways, nope, there's this giant flat area out in the middle of the state. But that's where Monte Vista was, where the dirt drags were. It was an amazing event. With the exception of it being so far away, it was hard for people to attend because the only place really to stay was that hotel or maybe like one other little one downtown or a couple of Airbnbs. You know, so once those got filled up, everybody else had to drive 30 miles to a hotel.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was a great one. But are they doing any of those kind of runs out by you where it's more driving than car show?
We just had, we had a garage crawl, which is always cool. I love seeing stuff like that. We're not allowed to, do poker runs is what they used to call them, where make it fun. But, we have garage crawls and, little meetup spots and then, find one spot to hang out for the rest of the night.
So poker runs are not legal in Texas? I thought everything was legal in Texas. People own tigers in Texas.
These are facts. No, it's a form of gambling, and for some reason, for the same reason you can't do raffles on Facebook and all that stupid crap. Yeah.
What do you mean waffles?
Waffles.
Yeah,
waffles.
Shout out to all the people that are making money off waffles.
Yeah. Now I want some waffles.
Damn, it's dinner time. But yeah, no, we've had a couple things going on. They might bring back, our friends might bring back the Moonshine Run. So
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking of, was down by you. Yeah. It sounds like a blast.
yeah, they had it at a a piece of property that they were able to set up a dirt track on it, and halfway around the dirt track, you're able to stop your car, get out, load up a bunch of moonshine, and then finish out the run. And they made like a little obstacle course out of it. It was pretty cool. But I think they kept having to move venues, and they couldn't find a place to do it. And then of course shut down. And so now all of that's kind of coming back, and they're talking about doing another moonshine run. Man, there used to be a lot of like cool events like that. And I think a lot of this year might be the year that car clubs get together and pull together some really cool events, because people are tired of doing the same old thing.
Well, yeah, we got our good friend Bobby Sparkman, right? He's doing the Hot Rod Tour of Texas. They're going to what?
They're going basically from Victoria, Texas, up to around Dallas,
Okay.
And they're going to do it, I think, in 2 or 3 days, and a couple stops along the way, and
it's like 60 to 100 cars that register to do it. So
that's cool. I've heard about it, but I didn't hear any details. That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's coming up this month.
Yeah, they're
at
gonna,
the end of April.
One of the stops is at like an old drive-in theater, and they're gonna play American Graffiti for everybody and stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be a big event, and a lot of our friends are doing it. So we're like, oh, that seems like fun. But other than that, we don't really have a lot of stuff. Like, it's just barely coming back.
Yeah. So one of the shows that's happened up here forever is the Greaserama, and they're on their 3rd venue now. But the venue they were at when I started going to it was a drive-in. And the show didn't start till 3 p.m, which is what time the Good Guys show technically got over when it first was going. So it's like, okay, go to Good Guys if you want to, then come over here and we'll have a real party. And it was crazy the first few years. I mean, I'm not going to say this is happening, but there's allegedly at one night, when it got dark, they showed movies till like 2 a.m. Allegedly, one year there might have been somebody stripping on the playground equipment, using the pole of the playground equipment as a stripper pole. Maybe. I don't know that happened.
Travis, was this you?
And it was a crazy wild party. Now they've grown a little bit older, and I'm not going to answer that. And everybody's the club's changed a little bit. New members, old members leaving, coming, going, all that stuff. And it's in a different venue, so it's not. It was kind of outlaw party back there. I mean, it wasn't, but it kind of was. It was on the verge of like, oh shit, the cops might come to this one. It was good time, right? And now it's at a state, not state, it's at the little county fairgrounds. It's way cool venue, but it's just a different feel to it. So you see some of these shows that will do things like that they'll morph over the years, and they're really lucky if they stay cool when they do that. Like Torque Fest. The first Torque, I went to the first 2 or 3 Torque Fests. The very first one was at this little dirt track in the middle of nowhere. And the coolest thing about it was, you get to go drive your car on that dirt track after showing it off all day. That's super rad. And there's guys out there drifting sideways in their customs, in their candy painted customs, drifting sideways on the dirt track, just looking like the Dukes of freaking Hazzard, just having a great time. And I mean, how do you not love a show like that, right? But I've heard about the Moonshine Run. There's like a bourbon run that happens as well out in Kentucky, I want to say.
Yes.
So one of the clubs here used to do a run that was, I think it's technically a poker run, because we're cool in Texas, we'll do it. And at the end of it, they were doing. I just had to make that laugh. And they're at the end of it, they were playing card games, and it was like old '70s biker games. It was the slow drag. Like one event was the slow drags, 2 sets of pylons, and you can't touch the brakes, but whoever goes slowest from one pylon to the next wins. And your brake lights can't come on. Oh. Okay, that's kind of fun. Another one was you have a passenger in the seat next to you, driver's blindfolded, the same 2 set of cones, and you have to stop as close as you can to the second set of cones. Because if you're driving a car, you know how much pressure to put on the brake to stop where you want, right?
Yeah.
The passenger doesn't really know your car well enough to tell you when to start hitting the brake.
See, the Barons used to do a car show up in the hill country, And that was one of the things that they would do. They actually had an obstacle course, and the passenger had to tell the driver, left, right,
Where to go.
stop.
Yeah. That sounds like a blast. One of the other one they did. Oh, the other one they did was what they called jousting. Did I lose you?
No, we're here.
My girlfriend called and my phone started trying to tell, or my computer started trying to tell me that she was on the line here. Okay, there we go. Then we get back to the screen where I can see you again. Oh no, it went away. Okay, whatever. We can still talk. There was the final one. Oh, there's jousting. So you are driving the car, holding a pool cue out your window, and you have to hit this ring that's on top of a pylon out there. It was super, super cool. You can probably hear my dog squeaking his toy in the background, so sorry about that.
Oh no, ours stays on the podcast. We have a dog that's constantly wanting to be on the show, and then we have a cat. So we keep the door to the office closed, and the cat will sit at the freaking door like, "Why won't you let me in?" We'll let her in, and then she'll just not want to be in here with us. So.
Yeah, if I have the door shut, he just sits out there and whines. And like right now, he's like, "Oh hey, by the way, I've got my squeaky toy. Want to hear it?"
Let me play the song of my people for you.
Exactly. And he's like, "I know this annoys him. I'll do this until he comes and plays with me instead of talking to people on his computer." So.
It's also another one that was really cool that the Barons did at their show was valve cover racing.
Yes, love watching that. Especially you get kids involved in it.
Exactly.
It's like a way cooler version of Soapbox Derby,
Exactly. And that's another thing I think that with this year, like how everybody's just kind of really just ramping up this year and wanting to do new things. Like, hey, these are some ideas, folks. Like, get kids involved at your car shows. Have something other than just park and show. And,
right.
I think that'll make a comeback this year.
Yeah, I think so too. I hope so, I should say. So now he put the ball down and just licking my hand nonstop. So that's keeping him quiet. We're gonna let that go. Whatever. There's probably some barbecue sauce on there or something. So good.
His dog, folks. His dog is licking his hand.
Probably
not lame.
Probably
No.
All right. Sometimes you just open that door and let some stuff fall out of your mouth that shouldn't. I.e., all the drunk podcasts I did back in the day.
Hey, you're probably going to end up bringing some of them back. I'll tell you right now, it's probably going to happen. I'm going to make my prediction.
I did a while back. A buddy of mine posted on Facebook, "Hey, who's got a planer? I need some boards planed down." I was like, "I've got one. Come over." He goes, "Well, thank you. You brought these boards over so you can finish this deck." I planed them down for him. He goes, "Here you go," and gives me this freaking handle of bourbon. I'm like, man, I don't drink that much. Just a regular bottle would have been cool. So I've been working on that for almost a year now, and I could probably just grab me a couple cold sodas and make me a couple of these Yeti tumblers full of drink, and about halfway through the second one, turn on the recorder and see what happens.
Hey, there you go. It'll be like 3 a.m. and my phone will be ringing. Travis will be recording podcasts.
We'll be getting up for work.
Yeah.
I'll be trying to do Jerky Boys type things.
I love the Jerky Boys, man. That was the good old days when people couldn't tell when you were prank phone calling them.
Glasses? Should I bring my glasses? What was the one from Oklahoma? Roy D. Mercer.
Oh,
did you ever hear those?
Yes, talking about his dog can't hunt and shit. Yeah.
Well, and it'd be like he was in Tulsa, and so south of Tulsa is Bixby. At the time, it was this pretty small town, and he calls down there to a place called International Tours of Bixby. He's like, "Hey, I want to come do one of your tours." Like, "Okay, where'd you like to go?" "To Bixby." "Okay, you're gonna come here, but where do you want to go on your tour?" "Well, it's International Tours of Bixby," and it just kept. It's just Southern accent. And it's way funnier than I'm making it. Thank you for laughing, but it was way funnier than I said it. But it was a radio station, so it was all like radio clean. It wasn't like the Jerky Boys was. I remember recording copies of that and handing them out to our friends. And the copy I got was probably a 10th generation copy. It just got worse every time.
It was more static on the tape than anything else.
Yeah. It started out with phone quality audio, so it wasn't great to begin with. It just got progressively worse. It was like you're sitting there at sitting there in the first phonographs where it's on the cylinder. It wasn't a record; it was that round tube. Before it sounded like that. That was a reference for all of us old people. So, all right, guys. What else should we talk about?
Well, folks, you've heard it here that podcasting is now going to bring back cool shit in car shows and prank phone calls.
Yes.
I wonder, I think it's still legal in Vegas, right? Other places you have to record, you have to tell somebody they're being recorded, which kind of ruins the joke.
Yeah.
That's why Crank Acres was recorded in Vegas, because they could do it in Nevada.
Huh.
Trivia.
I didn't know that.
Know.
If you live in Nevada, just know that I will be prank phone calling you and recording it.
Viva is coming up here in a few days.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of drunk people. We need to stay up at 2 a.m. just so we can call these people.
We were trying to get to Vegas because I just got so many friends that are going this year, normally that don't go. So I'm like, it's Vegas. Flights be like $200.
No,
problem.
$2,000.
It was $2,000 for the two of us to fly round trip. It's like $2,000. I'll drive.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 17 hours, and I know the old joke. Midwesterners, it's only 17 hours. But seriously, it's only 17 hours. I could be there literally in a day's time for like $150 in gas or $981 per person.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was our thought on Beatersville, because for us to Louisville is
It was like, I think it was
16 hours.
Yeah, but the tickets were like 17 or $1,800, and it was like us flying back home on like a Monday, one of the cheapest days to fly back. And I was like, "What?" I was like, "We're driving. I'm sorry, but we're driving. We will figure it out. I don't care." I was like, "We'll just whatever."
We drove to we flew this year to Flaming Gorge, because that same place we do this 4th of July show does an event called the Snow Rally in January. And so this year we didn't have enough vacation to drive because it's 14 hours each way. So we flew, and it was like $280 a person round trip into this little town that's so small there were 4 of us on the flight.
Wow.
Wow.
It was the most uncomfortable private jet ever. And then on the way back, 4 people on the flight, but we knew the other 2, so we just sat wherever we wanted to, so we could BS. That's how small this town was we flew into. It's like there were 6 people working at the airport and 4 of us flying.
Wow.
It was ridiculous.
6 people working at the airport. 4 of them were Homeland Security.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're trying to be all professional and follow the rules, but then the other people are like, just come on through. Come on. You're fine.
Get in. Just hurry up. Sit down somewhere.
Yeah.
You're the first person I've seen in 6 weeks. Come on.
Right? We're grateful you spent any money in our city. Please just be happy and get on the plane and come back.
Do you want an extra bag of peanuts?
So I think I told this story on the podcast, so I want to throw her under the bus a little bit. It was Vanessa's first flight ever, leaving Wichita to go to Utah. 6:15 in the morning, we board the plane. She builds airplanes for a living. She's looking around this plane going, this thing's built like shit. It's junk. Look, everything around me is just cheap. I'm like, yeah, you're not one of your private jets right now, honey. I know, right? He says the same crap. Yep.
He's terrified for New York.
we get on the flight, we get up in the air, and it's like it's misting at ground level, but up in the air, it's full on snowing or sleeting. She goes, what is that? And the big aircraft landing lights on the wings were on, so lighting it all up. And I'm like, it looks kind of crystally. I think that's snow or ice or something. And she looked a little concerned and go, hey, did you ever see that show Lost? Pretty good. Bam! Just smacks me. So about 6:30 in the morning, the stewardess, flight attendant, comes by and was like, hey, can I get you guys anything? And I said, yeah, I'm going to need a Jack and Coke. And she kind of looked at me like, it's 6:30 in the morning, you alcoholic. I said, this is her first time flying. I didn't want her to feel bad ordering one. She goes, I'd like one too, please. And the flight attendant's like, honey, yours is on me. Then on the second flight, we're going from Denver to Utah. We're sitting in the second row, and the other people are like 8 rows behind us on the other side of the plane. It didn't have to go all the way back. There's 4 of us. And so I talked that flight attendant and given Vanessa a set of wings, because I got a set of wings when I was 8 on a flight. So I figured she, on her first day of flying, needs a pair of wings, those little lapel ones.
Yeah.
So she got some. She's like, oh, honey, I got you. And brings her over some little wings. So I was like, there, now you feel better? She's like, no, I don't like when the plane turns. I don't like when it does this. I don't like, she's just like, I don't like it. Get me on the ground. Lesson learned. It's probably better to drive places.
Well, for Beatersville, we'll be driving. Evil Shindig, it's still up in the air. We're going to it, but we don't know if we're going to fly or drive. But our New York trip, so we're not going to Roundup because we'll be in New York meeting John Waters. So
cool.
we'll be out there. We'll be there for 5 days and 4 nights. But
cool.
he hasn't flown in a long
20 years.
a long ass time. So
Oh.
I told him, I was like, it's fine. I was like, there's restaurants at the airport. We'll have a drink. If not, we'll get you a drink on the flight.
Yep. It's, take a couple of those little bottles with you, drink them at the airport before you get on the plane. Happy trails.
Yeah, that's the plan. So when I went to school for everything that I do at work now, it was instilled in us, like, when people have problems in the air, they can't pull over on a cloud and, check the oil and see, there's not any of that.
I'm sure I saw it in a cartoon. I'm sure I did.
It had to be. I'm sure there had to be at some moment I learned this. So that, it was like beaten into us. Like you will not screw up your job. And I went to school with some folks that I was glad that they did not make it all the way through. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you were listening to this, but God, Oh.
Everybody's probably happier for that in the end, right?
But I'm sure people think the exact same thing about me, and they're like, "You work on airplanes?" Yes, folks, I do. But
That's
Travis,
Vanessa's argument was like, I know how they're put together. I don't want to fly in one.
Pretty much, that's how he is about it. He's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how I'm gonna act. I'm like, that's why I'm gonna knock your ass out right before we need to get on there.
But you'll get in a sketchy hot rod and go do donuts.
for real.
His Model A. His Model A. No seatbelts.
Yeah.
The seats weren't even bolted down. It had no
no-
hood.
no
Stories
roof.
That, yeah.
Oh.
It was a factory ejection seats in those things.
Pretty
One
much.
big bump and you're flying up through the top.
Exactly. Oh man, real quick story. A friend of mine ended up in maintenance school up in Michigan, and on his flight back, he was flying on the airline that he was working for. And while he was flying back home, he was reading the manual for the airplane that they happened to be on. And the lady sitting next to him was like, "Oh, you work for them? Then that's good. If there's anything wrong, you'll be able to fix it." And he goes, he tells me, he goes, "I just looked at her for like a solid 15 seconds of silence." And was hoping that she would understand what she said was not okay.
Right? Like,
Like,
do you see any tools on that person? And do you see the ability for me to fly outside the plane so I can check something out?
with the jetpack.
We got the jetpack on the side.
If I had one, I'd just be using it. That's way cooler.
Yeah, I wouldn't be taking this airplane. I'd be taking the jetpack home. Yeah, absolutely, man. Travis, we absolutely appreciate you letting us be on your show and let your listeners.
Let me be on yours, man.
Oh, you're always welcome on ours. You got tons of cool stories and people you've talked to, and
I just told you all of them.
you told us all of them in the span of this 45 minutes, and we got nothing else, folks.
All right. Well, so for my podcast listeners that may not know about you, where can they find the Custom Couple?
Well, as always, all of our social medias, of course, Facebook, Instagram, it's all The Custom Couple. Our brand new YouTube channel, The Custom Couple. That's pretty much everything on, the same name on all of the
We're
all
very
of the
lucky nobody
platforms.
took our name anywhere.
Yeah, we were able to use the same
We're-
name on all platforms.
We're not the Custom Couple. We are the Custom Couple on all our social
There you go.
media.
Yeah, so
That's why when I had an idea for a YouTube channel that I still haven't really started, I just claimed the name. I claimed the name as soon as I had the idea, so that when I was ready to do it someday, it was mine.
there you go.
I was just like, I'm getting it now because I ended up as Roy Boy Productions because my nickname was Roy Boy as a little kid, and I hated it when I was a little kid for some reason. So that's why it's my nickname. And I tried 10 other names for a company when I started doing audio recording back in the studio in the early 2000s. Why I needed a name, don't know. Thought it was cooler. Not sure why. So tried all these names in the early days of the internet back in the GeoCities website days where you make your own website there. I'm way too old. The only one I could find that wasn't taken that was an idea was Roy Boy Productions. Like, that's kind of a cool sound to it. And now I'm like, that's the longest, stupidest name I could ever thought of. Travis at Roy Boy Productions. I mean, it's just it's like it takes up the whole thing when you try to type my email address to somebody. Oh shoot, I just gave out my email address. God damn it. So that happens. All right, guys, thank you for guy and gal. Thank you, the custom couple, for letting me be on your show, for being on my show, this little Swapcast thing we do. Maybe we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
I'll think of some whole new stories, or I'll go have some new adventures, and then I'll have something to tell you about.
We should end up in some of the same places together and do some of this stuff live. That would be great.
We can have some margaritas.
That sounds fantastic.
Those are my favorite.
Well, I'm not too opposed to bourbon and Pepsi, apparently, because that's empty. That's completely empty. And I'm going to try to be at Invasion, and also going to try to be at Pistons and Paint this year. Those guys, Pistons and Paint guys, were one of the sponsors of my big 48 state trip, so I always try to make it to their show, even if I'm in a daily driver and I'm just there to take pictures and help promote and say, hey, this was cool, you should have been here. Don't know of any other Texas events that I have on the schedule for the rest of this year, but there might be one. Maybe I'll make it down to the fall Texas Good Guys. I've never been to the fall version of it. It's cool to be at the racetrack, and my little 12-year-old nephew got to ride around in a car around the track.
Oh, that's cool.
Last month, he video chatted me right after, like, you'll never guess what I did. And I was like, man, I'm so jealous. So I need to go try that. So I might make it down to Texas for that in September. But the plan is to try to get to Invasion and Pistons and Paint. So hopefully one of those shows we can cross paths at.
Awesome, Travis. If you would, for our listeners, let them know where they can find everything for Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes.
Very nicely done. So the home for everything I do is royboyproductions.com. Stupid long title. That's what it is. But in my galleries there, so if I have links over to my galleries there, there's over 100,000 images I've taken since 2005 at car shows, literally all over the country. The entire 48 state trip, all the photos for that are there. And then videos I've started doing the last couple of years. There's links to those. So I'm on YouTube as Roy Boy Productions. That's where I put, except for this one that I forgot to record video of. That's where I put the video version of my podcast. Roy Boy, and then Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes on pretty much any of the podcast apps. You should find me there. So obviously most people use either Spotify, Apple Music, and some people use that Google Play. There's some little small ones as well out there, but that's where most of it is. But yeah, Roy Boy Productions or Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes, pretty much anywhere you do social media, you can find one and or the other.
Awesome. All right, folks. Well, you've heard it here, and in all things custom, keep it cool.
Bing, bang, boom. See you next Tuesday.
Don't say see you next Tuesday.
I can poop anywhere.
We know.